Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Matthew, Mrs. Gubain, uh, Professor Dhananjaya, my father, Ishant, of course, all the presenters who did a fantastic job, very articulate, very precise. The quality of presentation over the top, very good. I was personally surprised to see that there has been so many activities that have happened even during the pandemic times. Generally, I know the first couple of months of COVID was more about fear, uncertainty, and we still wouldn't have made up our mind of how we will navigate through the teaching learning process or how we will navigate through the schooling and delivering school education. Uh, so, in the middle of all that clutter, the clarity that has emerged and the planning that has gone in to deliver what you've delivered is highly creditable, and there's a great should be a great applause to that. I don't know if all the teachers are watching. If they are,
they are, sir.
Firstly, if I were you, I would have hesitated to go back to school for the fear of catching the COVID infection, which I eventually did, but 1.5 years later. So the courage, the commitment, the passion comes across. The courage to go to school and deliver lessons online or conduct activities. I know there was a short period of time when students were allowed to come. It requires a lot of courage, and not only courage from you, also from your families, because you don't want somebody infected, and once somebody gets infected in the family, it spreads. So my sincere appreciation from the bottom of my heart is that you had the courage, you had the determination to go to school, whether to just deliver the online lessons or to deliver the activities. And I now see that online lessons didn't just mean sitting in front of a camera and talking to a camera. It meant a lot more things. It meant competitions. It meant multidisciplinary activities, which is all creditable. I hope all this is available on your YouTube channel. Matthew, if not, we should make it available on our YouTube channel.
It's all there, sir. It's all there.
And we should also pick, because the general impression in the community, not just in Mysore, wherever, where pandemic has hit, it's pretty much across the country. But what can you do? When there is a pandemic, all you can do, and that's what the government said as well, is look, go in front of cameras and deliver a lecture and hope that on the receiving side, the students are listening to you and absorbing what you're saying. Because, the opportunity for interaction, high quality interaction, opportunity for peer group interaction was getting mitigated. And right in the beginning, as one of you rightly pointed out, nobody was trained to speak to a camera and assume that there are children who are listening at the other end. The children also get fatigued by screen time. and especially younger children, when they know they are not being watched by their teachers, become restless and tend to get distracted very easily. So the only solution right at the beginning was use laptops or iPhones or whatever, deliver your lesson, and then hope for the best. Um, and it's nice to see that the variety and the diversity of activities that you have conducted, and the kind of participation and the quality of activities and competitions, etc., that you've designed uh, is high. And that's the medium where you can mitigate the problems of collaboration, which otherwise would have been difficult, peer group interaction, challenging the students, because it's natural that if you're if you're kind of isolated at home, boredom seeps in more easily, particularly for young children, and they become restless. And when they get involved in exciting activities, I think that brings back the fountain of excitement in their minds, the wanting to learn, uh, and wanting to interact, etc. So, which is very good. I was very happy to see all the presentations and the list of activities that have been conducted. We should talk more about it. As Excel Public School, we are always known to be innovative, path breaking, bring thought leadership to the fore in school education. So we are always known to be doing things differently. Um, so if you want to continue to maintain that sense of thought leadership, oh look, let's find out what Excel Public School is doing, and let's see if we can do a part of it, whether in terms of number of activities or in terms of quality. Or if a school is open-minded, they could even come and ask us, "Hey, can you help us? We are able to only do this one-way communication of teaching lessons." Which will be nice, because you not only help other schools, but maybe the children from other schools can also collaborate. So the quality of collaboration and the number of spans of collaboration increase. And also, it adds to brand Excel Public School. Once you start talking about, look, here are the competitions we did, here are the awards our children won, here are the awards that the school won. And when all this goes out to other schools, particularly, and to the community in Mysore and anywhere else, we will continue to maintain a lead of sorts. Because finally, we want to be not only an excellent school, but best in class school. So, best in class school means best in class practices, teaching, learning practices, best in class activities, and activities that challenge the current situation. The current situation, many people have given up to the current situation, which means that, well, look, there is pandemic. I know of so many people who have contracted the infection. I'm going to stay home, watch TV or do whatever. So that's not human nature. I mean, human nature is not to give up; it's to fight back. And when a school like Excel Public School is seen as fighting it back, finding different ways of conducting high quality school education in spite of whatever restraints and constraints that may come due to COVID, uh, is a great achievement. That's something that should be talked about, because you win when the competition is weak. uh, the amount of pride we carry as individuals or as schools is less. You win or do something extraordinary when there are restraints and challenges. Uh, the pride each one of us and the school carries will be high, and we will be seen as that much better. So I really wish that we find ways of publicizing this, and maybe LinkedIn to begin with. I don't know how much is there on LinkedIn, but social media, uh, and select articles maybe in some of the magazines. Some of them have gone related magazines, but we should do that. The other thing is why you should think about it, because these are all only my suggestions. Why should we not think of a newsletter? With so many activities, I think it deserves a monthly or a quarterly newsletter that goes out to parents, of course, who are key stakeholders, to all of us, and extra copies which we can uh, indirectly distribute. We don't want to go about distributing newsletter like newspaper, but we would like individuals and people who are connected with our school, who believe in what we do, who benefit from what we do, for them to champion Excel Public School and the activities in Excel Public School. Maybe we can print those newsletters, make it available to them. So more and more of the community looks forward to getting the next edition of the newsletter. Uh, there is no reason for us to keep all the activities we are doing. There is no reason to play it close to our chest. Uh, if somebody copies, let's say, for instance, if that's the fear, if somebody will copy, that's okay, because you created it, you originated it, and what are we doing? We are not copying. We may get inspired by an idea that we see somewhere and build on it, improvise it, recalibrate it so that it meets the needs of our students. So it's okay. And I don't see any need to be worried whether the idea will be stolen and the activity will be conducted independent of us in another school. So be it. More children benefit, more of the community benefits because of what we originated, the better it is. At least we'll take more punya with us. Um, I noticed that in the first presentation, I think that there were many webinars, many courses online that were attended, etc. I also did that. I attended many webinars, particularly if it was related to school education. And I used to share it with Prashant. That here is a webinar, because I was curious about what how school education was going through a transformation in other countries, um, and and they would talk about it in the webinar. So you try to understand if there is any creative intent in what they were doing, or if there was a innovative, novel way of doing it. So that, to be very honest, I did go through quite a lot of seminars over the first few months, and I didn't really find, I mean, there's a little bit of improvisation here, there's a little bit of improvisation there, but nothing radically different from what I've seen you doing. And whatever improvements were more local. I mean, it was more about where they were, and not really so. It would not be so relevant to us. So, by and large, I think we have been forward thinking. We haven't lagged behind in being innovative or creative in doing these activities. Um, so, so my effort was to try and compare. So after some 20, 30, 40 webinars, I gave up because it was pretty much all the same thing in different accents. Now that said, I've also seen some webinars about school education in India, and I was impressed by the first couple of webinars that I saw. And then it was the same thing all over again, different schools, different school leaderships, different school principals, round table, the same questions, the same responses, and then I gave up on it. But I now believe that Excel Public School should do one or two, a few select seminars, webinars only, not like a series which I saw, because that's repetitive and nobody will have the patience. But as Excel Public School, if you say, we are going to do a webinar on everything that we did, I mean, speaking colloquially, everything that we did during the COVID phase 1 and phase 2, or COVID, I think there will be an element of interest. It's okay, don't worry about the attendance. You do 2 or 3, not more than that, there will be enough attendance by the time you do the 3rd edition. We shouldn't do too many of them, because like the other things that I've seen, teacher roundtables, school roundtables, so on and so forth, they quickly lose interest, and then it's about how much they spend on digital marketing to get the audience back, and they keep calling and saying, it's time for the webinar, have you logged in, please? We don't see you, can you please log in? Then what do? You log in and then leave. Do something else. So we don't want that. We want genuine viewers and genuine listeners. So that was another thing else. Now, this is probably the most important part of what I'm going to say is what COVID has shown to all parts of the society is that we abuse nature. There is still speculation. There are conspiracy theories about whether the virus was man-made, lab-made, and the investigations are still on. I think that given the pandemic and its impact on the health of individuals, and the expectation that young children will also be impacted in the next wave, if at all it can be called the next wave, it's almost clear. Science is telling us. In fact, there was a paper in Lancet yesterday, which is Lancet is the leading magazine or a journal where you would look for to know what really is happening from a public health perspective. It has said that the next wave will be mostly the children will be impacted by it, and we will have to prepare, nations will have to prepare to do as much prevention as possible and also be prepared for cure. As you are probably aware, there is already phase 1 or trials that are going on for children between 2 and 18. Vaccination for children aged 2 to 18. And phase 2 trials will soon start in Mysore. I don't know how many parents will allow their children to volunteer for phase 2 trials, but definitely post that the vaccines are going to become available maybe in about a month or two. A month if emergency use is needed, otherwise definitely in 2 months. Now, before the first whiff of what COVID was, we were not even aware of COVID or COVID-19 or whatever. It was only somewhere in December of 2019 that we heard about it for the first time in a remote corner of a newspaper, and then it became slightly bigger news. And then in February, we had to start working from home. Now, one thing we were not, in a way, we were not prepared to deal with a pandemic situation, a pandemic like COVID-19, whether it was created in a lab or whether it was, it just happened, is that we did not build up enough immunity for such infections amongst individuals, communities, including children now. So which means, we never took eating well, doing exercise, and today every advisory, whether it is from ICMR or WHO, talks about pranayama. If you look at it's so ironical, the WHO Dr. Tedros says, well, you don't have any other choice, wear a mask, don't get out of home, wear a mask even inside the home if possible, and then take a vaccination if it is available, and practice pranayama. So that's the additional directive that you are hearing from everybody, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's supposed to be the global expert in the US. Listening to his address yesterday, he said, do yoga, do some pranayama, and the science behind it was also explained, that when you do a certain asana, your immune system develops, your oxygen saturation and the ability of your body to put more oxygen into the blood improves. So broadly, I have a feeling that nobody, even us senior people, never expected a pandemic of this proportion and so damaging. However, the one big lesson to take away for us is it's very important to bring into our education system the concept of well-being and wellness to the children. And when you do it without any context, now we have a context. All children of all ages are around, aware of corona, COVID, etc., because we are bombarded with that. Any conversation, anything always ends up with COVID. And with the damage that it has done to communities and families, we should use that as a context whenever corona is going to go away, hopefully in 2 or 3 months at least, start dying down. And as even now, even when you are online, we should bring in a wellness module into education depending on the age groups, where we talk about what are the standard things they should do on a daily basis at home along with their family to maintain a certain level of well-being and a certain level of immunity to fight back diseases. Because if COVID ends, that's not the end of diseases. There could be another endemic or a pandemic. There could be another wave of infection of some sorts. It could be local, it could be global. We should be prepared for it with good health, good immunity, well-being, etc. So there, I think it's important that we should bring it into. CBSE will bring it into the curriculum sometime. I don't know when, but we should try and bring that in so that we can not only educate children, but we are also able to counsel parents, because parents play a big role. You know, if somebody says eat two oranges a day without, with the pulp, and if the children are not given oranges, how are they going to eat it? So the parents should know first that how much of a difference does it make, and why oranges, etc. So it's important to have a discussion with parents as well, and many of our parents or doctors, I'm sure they can come in and talk to other parents about how do you build immunity, how will you be better prepared, how do you maintain better public hygiene, family level hygiene, etc. So that's another thing I wanted to bring in. I think it's extremely important given the situation today. Interacting with parents, given the numbers, it's obviously got to be in smaller batches to make it effective. Otherwise, it will be just about lecturing to a large group of parents where we may not be able to make an impact. So, smaller groups of parents. And if somebody doesn't believe in it, let them not show up. As long as we are able to reach out to people who believe in it, we should do that in smaller batches. You may already be doing this, and I think I noticed that you're already doing it, which is about counseling. Now, counseling is not anymore a taboo. Um, so if somebody in the family has been infected, uh, and God forbid, even let's say passed away or something, which is a traumatic event in the family. Even somebody getting infected and staying in quarantine for 14 days can be quite traumatic. I've myself gone through that. I was quarantined till 2 days ago. It's a traumatic experience. And when you get there, some of us, when I had 2 shots of vaccine, it was already 60 days, etc. So I had no symptoms, but I still just stayed indoors. What that means is 2 things. Vaccination is not foolproof. It doesn't mean you won't catch corona or COVID. A lot of people don't know it. We would like to assume that we've had 2 shots and it's 60 days after 2 shots, so I'm immune. So that's not true. I've seen people getting 3 bouts, 4 bouts in spite of vaccination. So we have to counsel people to not take things easy just because they've got themselves vaccinated. Yes, the probability of them getting infected would be low, definitely, but then it doesn't make it foolproof. So you cannot be careless. Counseling is required on many fronts, particularly for parents, on how do they deal with children, how do they manage them at home. is all very much required. So please do see if you can counsel parents, maybe get some counselors amongst our parents to do the counseling around COVID-19 so that they can handle it better. Post-COVID, the school education mode is something which we have to start thinking about now. Now that we are in the midst of the worst part of COVID, and we will probably see an increase in COVID infections over the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully it will start to decrease. But still, a time will come when COVID is gone. And at that time, when we get back to school, we have to start reimagining school education for post-COVID times. Behavior of students, behavior of parents is likely to get impacted. It will take some time post-COVID, even assuming the national government comes and declares that, look, we are COVID-free, like they did in New Zealand, and then, it came back and hit them. At one point in time, they said, we are COVID-free. You don't have to wear a mask. US has told all its citizens that even a mask is not necessary anymore. We've already reached community transmission stage or herd immunity. So the way in which school education will be modeled and will be run will probably be different. We've all talked about it. Hybrid mode, mixed mode. We can say mixed mode, hybrid mode. That means some children come to school, some children stay at home. But the burden on the school to cater to both types of audiences and be equally effective is highly challenging. And it's time that you have online workshops amongst yourselves, starting to think about such a situation where you can't enforce children coming to school. You can't enforce children from not coming to school either. So it's entirely their freedom, and they may continue to learn online. They may continue to learn online for a couple of days and come to school for a couple of days. So we at this point in time, it's not going to be predictable in terms of numbers. But what can happen is all the three. That is, some of them will continue to do online for a certain amount of time because they want to take a wait and watch policy. ಬೇರೆಯವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಯಪ್ಪ, ಅವ್ರ ಮಕ್ಕಳೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನೋ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಕಳ್ಸೋಣ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಆಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ children have missed a lot of social skills. They cannot interact with their own age group children because that's gone for quite some time now. And for some of the younger children, it becomes that much more important. So for the elder children, they will want to get back to school. They will force their parents to send them to school because they are missing their teachers, they are missing their classrooms, they are missing the school, they are missing their classmates and the interaction with their classmates. But for the younger ones, social skills is still an unknown. And when they come to school is when they will start to become socially better equipped. So we have to consider all these parameters and be prepared for a post-COVID model of school education, which will be a kind of a hybrid mode. We will have to be both technologically well prepared, but we should also be able to handle And it is difficult. It is going to be more difficult than 100% online or 100% in class. That balance is very hard to achieve, but we should think through that. Future schooling, I mean, post-COVID is fine. That is jumping to maybe November, in my opinion, my personal opinion, maybe a little beyond that, when schools may restart in a normal way. But then that is the point when NEP will also come into play. You know, NEP already has implementation plan, and I was telling Prashant that it's available online. You should go and search for Sukrut. Sukrut is the implementation. How do you implement NEP for school education? It's available in notes and documents and material on the website. It's called Sukrut. It is published by the Government of India, Ministry of Education. You look at that, and that's going to be 2 milestones from now. When everything is normal, students come back to school, what changes will you have to make to align with Sukrut, or which is NEP for school education? So at this point in time where we are, if you know, we have dealt with the last 2 years of COVID, and you've done it really well. And I had some suggestions on how you should do more PR around it, and more marketing around it for the school. And we talked about the near term from now until end of COVID. We talked about end of COVID and then the settling time that it takes, and during which what challenges we may have, and then an absolute end of COVID, and NEP starting to influence school education at that point in time. How should we get prepared for it, and where are the resources available? Broadly, I guess that's what I wanted to cover, and the key being, of course, that I personally, I believe there is not enough content and not enough quality attention in schools, generally, any school for that matter, on the wellness of the child and the well-being, wellness of the child. It's not just about sports, athletics, exercises, and games. I think it's about the overall well-being of the child. It is physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it is spiritual as well, right? So I think we should look at that aspect of our school education and see what Excel Public School would do to address that gap or some gaps we may have. With that, I will thank you for giving me this opportunity, and my great appreciation for all the wonderful work that all of you have done during the COVID period, wave COVID patch 1, patch 2. Let's be highly alert to the third wave, particularly where younger children are likely to be more vulnerable to the third wave. And that is probably, if it, God forbid, it will, I hope and pray to God that it will not happen. But if it happens, we should be prepared for it. We should prepare the minds, our own minds as teachers and as educators, but also prepare parents' minds. So it's better you get an authority in this talk about it, rather than we talk about it to parents saying, look, there can be a third wave and it will most probably impact young children. It is true, my 6-month-old granddaughter tested COVID positive. So it's already there, and I have a first-hand experience of that. So I think we should all be well prepared to face that situation. Yeah, and otherwise, well, I can't thank you enough for taking all the risks that you took, the courage that you showed in continuing to deliver good quality school education to our students in spite of all the challenges of COVID. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and hope to interact again pretty soon. Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your appreciation, compliments. And I must, at least at this point in time, on behalf of the entire PPS family,